Hello and welcome to the demonstration of my assignment 1 for level design 2. I'd like to take you through the level which I constructed. As you can see, it's science fiction themed, like a spaceship kind of environment, and the whole level is built out of these modules which make it easier for construction. Let's dive in. Now the first thing to say is that the controls are very floaty, unfortunately. This is because of I use an alternative character controller which I got off the internet, because the original one, which is supplied with the standard assets for Unity, does not work with the gravity change mechanic, which I will introduce later. So unfortunately. Now, as we start in the level, the first thing we come across is this red laser, which, when triggered, opens which collapses this floor, which is malfunctioning. So it serves as a fair warning to the player. They cannot actually fall in, but they do learn about that essentially the red laser signposts a hazard. Now, we have a door here, which opens as the player gets near and closes as they get a bit further away. This works again and again. To go on, here we have the area where I introduced the gravity change mechanic. This is slightly signposted because the floorboarding is on the wall as well. And the geometry here, well, it is unable for the player to continue on without either changing the gravity or doing something else. We have the so-called gravity orb here, which, as you see, the reticule actually changes color as you get nearer, as well as the 3D text which appears to tell the player that they can interact with it. When I press E, as you see, this is the gravity change. I am now walking on the wall. As you see, the orb has changed color, as well as this box which has fallen down to add to the player to give the feeling that the direction of gravity has actually changed. Now we can now also introduce the cyan colored laser beams, which we find here and also here now. And these will also change the gravity direction back to the original setting. This is as a means, for instance, to keep the player from backtracking, but also used as traps. For instance, if I was to venture up here and jump in the laser, I would fall back down. Now we have another door here, and when it closes, it will not reopen again. This is essentially to keep the player from backtracking while back in the original gravity. If they would actually be able to jump this distance down, and I did not want them to. Now, continuing on, we will find the last trap from the level, which is essentially a combination of the two previously introduced mechanics of the gravity change, as well as the collapsing floor with the red laser. Now, as I interact with this gravity orb here, you see the cyan colored laser beams as well. This is also to keep the player from walking into this pit, which would normally, it functioned when the player falls in there, they would die. So it would be weird if they could simply walk into there. Now, as for the red laser here, when I trigger it, the floors will collapse, the player will die, and as the screen fades out, the level is restarted. Let me find my way back to where we just were. And here we are again. So this is finally a hazard, but still it is not very difficult to avoid trap. You essentially just have to jump over the red laser beam to avoid it. And then this is the final stretch. When this door opens, the player will walk into the light, and as they do, normally a next level would start, but in this case the level is reloaded. Now, I like to take you to a separate scene which I made. um, which is much smaller. And over here, I did the gravity change mechanic in such a way, um, the way I would actually want it for the player to be less disorienting and perhaps less frustrating. Let me demonstrate by interacting with this gravity orb. You see the change is much more gradual. This keeps the player from being disoriented, and in this case uh, the change is triggered in such a way that it reverts back to the old direction after a couple of seconds. Now this can be used in future traps and puzzles, for instance, to give the player a few seconds to bridge gaps and stuff like that. This was my demonstration. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much.